More Switch stuff. So, Nintendo is going to be changing some of the game cases for some of the upcoming titles. There's going to be a lovely, lovely little detail on the front that says internet download and micro SD card required. Matt, do you know why it says that? I guess you figured out your cue. That was your cue to start playing music.
Well, I do, Steven.
Over to
Let
you,
me
Matt.
tell you.
Goodness.
Every time. Probably because you need a micro SD card to play the games.
That's right. There are going to be some games that require more, because the Switch cards that they actually go on. Do you know how much those little suckers can hold? What the max size is?
I don't know what the max size is. I have seen them at 32.
Yes.
Is that the max?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the SD card. We're talking about the actual game card sizes.
I think I've seen them go to like 50.
According to Nintendo, they go for anywhere from 1 to 32 gig. Like we're talking about like a game that like Breath of the Wild was like, come on.
Then I guess I don't.
So it's 32. That's the largest. But you can get like, I think up to like, the Switch will support up to a 2 terabyte micro SD card, which they don't even make yet. But somehow they know it will support up to that much. What they're saying is there are going to be some games that we're not even talking about an install from the game card. We're talking about you have to download a big portion of the game onto the SD card. The Switch comes with 32 gigs of storage built in. But even if you have, I'm assuming that the only reason why a game title would have that warning on it is it's going to require you to download more than 32 gigs worth of additional game files, I guess, if it's going to exceed what the Switch can handle. And SD cards are still kind of pricey. Like if you're looking at like 128 or a 250 gig size card, we're not really in like cheap range. We're not talking about like it'll run you $20. Like these are still fairly expensive. And it's funny too because it seems like Nintendo has also even had a partnership because they're actually with SanDisk, the company behind the SD cards, because there's literally Nintendo themed SD card packages that you could buy that are just like, hey, this is for the Switch. It's like, no, it's any device like a phone that can take a micro SD card. But what do you think of this? Do you think that this is something that was unavoidable simply because, the Switch is competing with consoles that have 500 gigs or a terabyte hard drive in them?
Guess so. I mean, I don't know. I kind of think it's a little annoying that if you want to play a game, then you're going to have to get another micro SD card just so you can play it, just because there's not enough storage on the console. Which I feel like they probably should have planned ahead for that.
Yeah, 32 gigs that's like what your base iPhone comes with now, I think. No, I think it goes from like 16 to like 64. Like they don't even have 32 gig as an option. I think with like new iPhones.
They might. I don't know. I think mine has like.
No, okay.
Mine might be 32.
I'm thinking of Samsung phones. Samsung phones come with like 32 gigs. Is like that's the base model. I would have been okay if they had other Switch versions with like this one has 64 gigs as the memory, or this has 128. Like I think that's one thing that you can learn from smartphones. Like people will spend additional money for more built-in storage, but then they do have the expandable storage with using the SD card. So maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just not thinking about that in the right way. But micro SD cards, the new 2DS, 3DS, they both take micro SD, and you have to have one if you're going to not save games, but if you're going to download games from the eShop. Or updates. I think one is required for updates, but you know what? They actually come with one. I believe right now it comes with like a 4 gig SD card all its own. So if you're just playing games and you're just like downloading installs, you'll be good. You could have like 20 games on your DS and have it download updates and you'll be fine. You'll never need another card. I think people are okay with the fact that the Switch is going to be graphically inferior to both the Xbox One and the PS4. I think if you buy a Switch, you're kind of expecting that just because it is also a portable console or handheld. So I don't think people... It's kind of like the whole thing with like the Microsoft... with the Xbox One X, where you will be required to download an additional 100 gigs just to get 4K textures. Well, what if you don't want 4K textures or you don't have a 4K TV? It doesn't matter. You have an Xbox One X. Therefore, this will happen. That's crazy. This is kind of getting into that level where you can't fit your game card on, or you can't fit your game on the game card. We're already seeing cases where there are certain games that are released cross-platform, and it's an additional $10 on the Switch to cover that cost of the game card, which is, a lot more than a Blu-ray disc. So, if we're already paying more for the games, and you're going to have better expandable storage, and if they're going to be... I mean, think about it. If you're going to get a game that is going to download more than 32 gigs of data, you're going to have at minimum a 64 gig micro SD card for that one game. That's insane. A 128 card, like a 128 gig card, is only going to support like 3 or 4 games, maybe. If you get a lot of these, I don't know. It's kind of it's kind of a fishy model. Like we're not expecting the highest definition graphics here with the Switch, and I kind of feel like they're trying to make it compete by doing this.
I think it's really funny that the game they chose to put this on was NBA 2K18.
Yeah, because that's not going to be in the dollar bin a year from release.
Exactly. Like, at least put a game on here that people would like. I'm not going to say that people wouldn't buy this, because I know people who will buy sports games
every year at full retail price.
They're okay with it because they're the type of people who are they're really into sports. For some reason, sports games are what they decide to play to get away from real life, to do a real life sport, something you could actually do or watch, and but do it as video game form. But I mean, you don't want to do. I mean, I know that Super Mario Odyssey's cover hasn't come out yet, but you could do Legend of Zelda or something.
Well, I mean, Zelda didn't require it.
Well, right, but just as an example.
Yeah.
I mean, try doing a game that people will actually buy that for. Like, I'm not going to buy... If NBA 2K18 really requires another a micro SD card to download onto a console. Just no.
And one important thing to add to this, it did kind of come with a caveat. It basically said you can still play part of the game, but you won't be able to play the full game experience without an SD card.
What does that even mean, the full game experience?
I don't know. Are you going to play a trial version of a game that you already spent money on?
No, I'm not going to spend $60 on a demo.
Yeah. That's not good. That's just, wow. Like, I don't know. To me, here's how I would handle it. I would tell any developer, figure out how to get your game to fit onto a 32 gig card, and that's it.
It'd be nice.
But
I mean, I kind of feel the same way about like the Xbox 360 or the Xbox One X.
The One X.
It's like, it's stupid that I have to download 100 gigabytes just for something that I'll never use. But
you might have a 4K TV one day, Matt. It should be optional.
yeah. Otherwise, I don't really know how I feel about that. But then again, I'm not gonna get an Xbox One X, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Because I would become a part of the elite race.
And I would argue some people use that same logic and they just won't buy these titles.
Yeah.
Unless, it is your Mario, your Zelda, your mainstay.
And of course, like, if the Super Mario Odyssey does end up having to do this, I can see people like buying an SD card to play it.